Un, dos, 14. Hello. So 3D Pod, we're here with Max Roberts from Maximum Fitness and myself, Darren Finnegan. So we're going to be doing a cheeky little podcast about routines, habits, and little tricks to kind of get you through these uncertain times. So my main man, Max.
Call me whatever you want, Darren. I'll take anything as long as it's nice. Yeah.
So kind of we've briefly touched on kind of a few routines, habits. Talk me through what's your kind of take on routines and kind of, focus on that. Just what's your take on routines? Why are they important?
My take on routines. Well, I think again, everything's goal dependent. So everything's dependent based on what your outcome wants to be, So quite a lot of us get to the end of the day and we don't even know what our outcome was. We don't know what we were chasing for. So I think having a routine is a great way to structure whether if you're moving forwards or backwards. Because, without a routine, sometimes you can get to the end of the day and not know if you've won or lost. And I think having a routine is almost like having a plan, and having a plan makes you take action. And when you take action, it usually leads to some form of result. Whether that's positive or negative is dictated by the type of action that we take. But I think it's a really, really good way to, especially in times like now, where there's lots of uncertainty, having routine does give you some certainty because you know what it is that you're going to be doing, which helps keep you on track and keeps you a little bit more emotionally stable, I personally believe. I think with lack of routine is lack of certainty, lack of action, and lack of results. And lack of results usually leads to lack of feeling good.
Ooh, knowledge bombs being dropped. Boom! So 100% agree. I personally have kind of done fair whack of traveling over the years, and kind of get a load of friends kind of contact me and be like, all right, going away for a few months, what should I do? And my go-to answer all the time is, you're going to be traveling in a world that's uncertain. So that means you're going to be going from country to country, city to city, different people, different food, different places, different beds. Everything is different day to day, and there's no routines or certainty in your day-to-day life. So I kind of always recommend them as like, here, one routine for your mind, one routine for your body, and they're kind of the key things in this context. So my routines for them 7 months that I was away was, right, I'm going to get up, I'm going to try and do minimum 20 push-ups every day. I'm going to read a chapter of a book. Done. Every day, irrelevant of the place, irrelevant of what was going on, I'd wake up and I'd do them two things at some stage over the course of the day, because that's an uncertain world, which, we're not globe-trotting around the world at the moment, but...
You've made a really good point there. So certainty, we know, is one of our basic human needs. We've got 6 human needs: certainty, uncertainty, love and connection, significance, and growth and contribution. And we all have the same needs. However, we value them on different levels. And I guess diving into this routine, the importance of a routine is dictated on the individual. And what I mean by that is we value them differently. So some people go on holiday to the same place every year, at the same hotel, at the same time of the year, because they value certainty so much more than they do variety. For some people, they value variety more. So like yourself, Darren, it sounds like you need a baseline of certainty, but you like the uncertainty for adventure. So we all need a baseline of uncertainty, because, say for instance, if where you're sat right now, if you didn't have the certainty that ceiling was going to hold up, do you think you'd be able to listen to my voice right now? Probably not. So there needs to be a baseline of certainty that the world's not going to collapse and we're going to fall into it to be able to function. However, when we've got too much certainty, if you know what's going to happen every day, all the time, initially that might be quite cool. Yeah. Eventually it becomes a bit boring. So it's about having that balance and making sure that your routine provides enough certainty for you to allow you to be able to function at your best. But if you're someone like me, personally, too much certainty can make you feel a bit trapped.
Oh, yeah. So, big resonating with that. I've struggled. I've kind of been a glorified traveler / gypsy. slash just where I could like pick up my bag for several years. I could pick up one backpack and move anywhere in the UK or Ireland. And some of my mates called me boomerang because I could bounce back and forth that quickly between the UK and Ireland. But at the same time, definitely that certainty is can be really positive and constructive. But simple thing, bring your partner home a set of bouquet of flowers. Okay, that's something that they won't be expecting in a rather uncertain times. Make sure that the uncertainty that they have is a positive thing. So, little trick: go and get that good lady of yours a set of flowers, my man. Surprise her. I'm on it. Right. But yeah, so all them principles in terms of kind of, they're all Tony Robbins based principles about certainty and uncertainty, and big believer in them because they are kind of crucial, particularly nowadays with a lot of things going on, and we can't control some of the uncertainty. So control the controllables. What can you control is going to be more crucial than ever. So talk me through. I'm sorry. So talk me through your kind of, do you have any daily routines that you do, no compromises, without fail, every day?
Yes. The first thing that I do when I wake up is I tell Alexa to shut up. No, I'm joking. I do tell her to stop. I don't say shut up. I feel. Alexa, stop. Stop. She's off again. So the first thing that I do is, obviously, I say, turn it off, turn my alarm off. But I make sure that the first thing that I do before I go onto my phone, before I do anything, is I think of 5 things that I'm grateful for. I then always, if Laura is in the bed next to me, sometimes she's up before me or whatnot, I'll tell her that I love her. Always as a habitual routine before I do anything. But the number one and most important thing that I do is I really try and focus on 5 things that I'm grateful for. And I find that, within the first 10 minutes of your day has quite a big impact on the rest of your day. I mean, there's actually psychological, you're in a different state of mind when you wake up for the first 10 minutes as you're coming out of your REM sleep. And so it's really important the ingredients that you put in your brain can actually be the key ingredients to making that delicious cake that you want at the end of the day. And so I think of 5 things I'm grateful for. I neck a pint of water. I then, at this moment in time, then go straight into boot camp. My routine now is different to what it once was. I can only talk about my routine now. I can go into my normal routine when I'm at the gym, but at the moment, that's what I do. Think of 5 things I'm grateful for, down a pint, do my boot camp. As soon as I've done my boot camp, I'll either go for a walk with the dogs, or at the moment, I'm doing my personal training sessions. So I'll blast through my personal training sessions. I'll then get my food all sorted. I'll have all my food made. I'll put that into MyFitnessPal, make sure I've hit my target. Go for a walk with dogs. Make sure that I focus as much as I can on all the things. Well, naturally, I do focus on the things that I enjoy anyway. I'm very, very fortunate to have adopted the belief that I always look for the good in everything, which is a belief that's definitely served me well, because it means that regardless where I am, I'm usually all right. Don't get me wrong, sometimes up and down, but my core belief is that I'm always going to be okay, and that I do look for the things that I like rather than focusing on the things that I don't like.
Yeah.
And then, go for a workout, and that's pretty much it at the moment in regards to my routine. Just eat, sleep, train, and just make sure that I'm having positive, healthy conversations.
Yeah, I like it. And in fairness, it's kind of pretty much carbon copy of kind of my own, in terms of your gratitude is loads of evidence, particularly for people in actually pain as well. So kind of if you are struggling with pain as well, a really kind of positive step to take is wake up. It's shifting from that negative mindset of waking up expecting to feel pain to a positive mindset of, and that's going to have a whole host of kind of changes going on within the whole neurochemistry of the body.
I've got a funny story for that, actually. My mum's boyfriend is a great guy. Very much like me in many ways. Not that he's a great guy, but that he's massively been influenced by fitness, personal development, and growing up as a teenager, I didn't really know that he was into all that stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
he created his own. So he plays guitar,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember Mark was the guy who actually talked about saying that he'd made it, and I remember being like, "You made it, but you're not on the telly, you're not on anything." And his made it was he just wanted to record an album.
Right.
So, he'd made it was relevant to his goal, but he created a genre of music called Posi Drive, right?
Right.
All the songs were, and this is crazy, right? So one of the songs was because I'm happy. Then Pharrell came out. But one of the songs was I'm happy, and it was just repeating the words happy in different ways. And I remember being very, very ill, really ill at school. And I was in the back of Mark's car, and my mum and Mark were driving me to school because I didn't go in early. They dropped me off later. And he had that song on, and I was saying it over and over in my head. And I was like, wow, I'm starting to feel better. And I convinced myself by saying that over and over again that I wasn't ill, to the point with by the end of the day, even though I was so ill for a couple of days, I was okay. And it really realized the power of the mind. It was crazy, man. Like, it's almost like I forgot that I was ill because I was so fixated on I'm happy, I'm feeling great, I'm feeling amazing, I'm not ill, I'm not poorly. That positive self-talk that was really just being driven into myself from listening to his Posi Drive CDs, which were, very, very basic stuff. It wasn't anything that I mean, it was good stuff. It served its purpose, but it was the message that it was getting into me was self-talk, and that definitely helped me trick myself into not being ill. But what you said about gratitude has a direct impact on everything. Self-talk, positive self-talk.
And it's a case of as we talked about before, it's a case of what you put in, you get out. So if it is a case you're waking up and listening to, no disrespect to certain types of music, but very emo music, very sad, very just depressive kind of type music, it might be hard to kind of pull yourself around and kind of get up and get kind of moving and motivated for the day. So again, thinking about
go through your Spotify at the times in your life where you struggled the most. If you can pinpoint a time in your life, look at your music. This is really interesting. Someone did this for me when I was having therapy. They got me to go through a time in my life which was really struggling. So if I go through 2014, the year that my dad was dying, if you listen to the music that I was listening to, you would know that I was really struggling and that I was really angry, because it's all really hard, aggressive rap. And it's crazy, man. Music's a real key tell to how you're feeling.
Oh, wait a second. This is new information. You like rap music? Oh, no. So interestingly enough, I had a similar experience. I was kind of decided one day, I think I was away somewhere traveling or something. And I sat down and I was like, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go through my Spotify and I'm going to pick songs that I remember that were pretty prevalent in my life at certain stages. So I literally went back to the first album I bought, different songs kind of in it. And like, it was kind of just songs that kind of came to me like that, and compiled a playlist. And then the playlist obviously then was like 50 songs long, but it's almost this like weird psychedelic trip through your whole life when you sit back and just listening to this playlist. And again, we kind of resonate with what you're saying about went through a stage where kind of literally listening to rap music, just real, just angry rap music, to the point I actually, don't tell anyone this is probably not the best platform to do this, but I have rapped in front of 500 people before, very, very badly, very, very badly in school. But anyway, possibly, but I will never ever let that see the light of day. So moving swiftly on, drop a comment in the list below if you ever want to find out more details. So it was a case of I kind of listened to it and it was like, oh man, just really kind of weird trip, and you kind of go through this emotional kind of roller coaster. And say, like, certain people, particularly with Alzheimer's, they hear a song and it triggers a certain emotion in them, and they can almost start like physically performing better and moving and dancing. So they're starting to use that in care homes as well, where they're putting on, say, Elvis Presley music, because that's where the people in the care homes, that's their generation as such, and people would get up and start dancing, and just like this weird transformational occurrence just from listening to a few songs from a certain era in their life, that when they're young, fit, active, healthy. So pretty powerful stuff. So anyway, I digress. So we're talking about routines, and kind of made some beautiful kind of points there that we kind of want to touch on. And so you said, obviously, at the moment, routines have changed a little bit because of the kind of whole COVID side of things, but essentially they are still pretty darn important. So you've ticked off the kind of gratitude side of things, get your exercise. Hydration is a massive one. People don't realize this.
Yeah, it's crazy important, man. I say to people on a day-to-day basis, drink more water. Like I saw a really funny post on Facebook, and it was, a personal trainer saying to their client, drink five pints of water a day, and the client going, "Oh, 5 pints, I can't." And then on the evening, they've had 5 pints of beer.
Yeah.
Easily done.
But yeah,
And that goes to motive. It goes back to, it's easy to drink 5 pints simply because the driving force of what you're working towards is a strong pull. I want to get pissed and drinking, and the thought of getting through that's a lot easier. Whereas a lot of the time when we think about drinking water, we think of, oh my God, it's going to be so hard. Like when you focus on what you've got to do to get the outcome that you want, usually it's not motivating.
Yeah.
Becoming a doctor, for instance, if people thought about what they've got to do to become a doctor, most of them wouldn't do it. If they thought, oh, I'm going to have sleepless nights, I'm going to be in the library till, stupid o'clock, I'm going to have lack of social life, I'm going to X, Y, and Z. But, for a lot of people who make it in the careers that they choose that they want to be in, they focus more on what their life's going to be like when they get into that career, or how they're going to feel. And that's the same, again, bit of a weird analogy with water. It's a case of focusing more on what's the benefits of doing it, and focusing on that rather than actually I've drank doing this podcast. I'm on my second pint already.
Yeah. And it's low hanging fruit as well. Like, people come in all the time in pain, and when you have persistent pain, there's lots of factors to kind of unpick. But kind of, I always start with, right, hydration. Are you drinking enough water? Sleep wise, can we optimize that and remove any unhelpful routines, habits, things that you're doing around the kind of sleep? And then kind of movement, a good movement practice, and then a breathing relaxation strategy. If you get them kind of four things right, they're the basic fundamentals of human beings. And then we go into the kind of more complex stuff as you need. But they're the kind of key things. Get them right, and you reap the rewards tenfold. So simple as. So routine wise, out of all them routines that will incorporate everything that you normally do on a day-to-day basis, pre-lockdown as well.
Yeah.
Which of them routines did you find the most difficult to incorporate into your day?
Ooh.
Laura. I found she wasn't there, so I couldn't say I love you.
Yeah, God. Wait, so are we talking quarantine, or are we talking when everything's normal?
We'll go pre-quarantine and then since quarantine.
Right. So pre-quarantine, my routine would be get up at 5, do 2 boot camps, have a couple of hours break, PT sessions, half an hour boot camp, half an hour break, PT, half an hour break, boot camp, train, leave. During that time in my breaks, obviously I'm eating. I always, on the way to work, listen to my personal development, and I always listen on the way back. So, it usually takes 20 minutes to get to work, 20 minutes back. So I'll start listening to stuff maybe 10 minutes just before, or 20 minutes before I leave the house, and then I'll put that into the car. So what's the routine that I struggle with the most? I think with running a business, it's hard to stick to a routine because things, change. Sometimes someone wants more of my time. Sometimes something happens where I've got to take action on it. Some things need doing. Sometimes people need help. So a lot of the time, my routine is quite stretched. I don't often get things done when I want to do them, when it's convenient for me. But it's a case of just doing them when you want. It's like sometimes I'll do my cardio at like 9 o'clock at night, having been at work since quarter six. I don't want to do it. I want to go home and watch TV, put my feet up, and eat some food and relax. But again, with routine, I really try and incorporate it with discipline.
So in a sense, I forget who has a quote, but it's like easy choice, hard life equals hard life.
It's Les Brown says, if you do what's hard, then if you do what's easy, life will be hard, and if you do what's hard, life will be easy.
Yeah. So kind of wake up, pick the hardest choice possible, or in Max's case, come the evening time, hardest choice is, shit, I need to go and do this run. Okay, but it means I'm going to hit my goals in the long term, and it's that short-term sacrifice for long-term kind of
frog. That's what it is. It's Eat That Frog by
Eat the Frog.
Yeah. If you eat the frog in the morning, then everything else that you eat for the rest of the day is going to taste better.
That doesn't mean, listeners, that you literally have to go and eat a frog.
No, absolutely.
Unless you're French, we're not going to judge you as well. It's okay. It tastes nice. Going in, licking toads, be like just trying to get a high. Max and Darren told me to go and eat a frog, but I said I'd lick one first that I can get a psychedelic trip off.
which is another conversation.
That's for another day.
I guess routine is massively dictated by discipline, and massively dictated by why you're actually doing that routine. Quite often we have routines that aren't actually gearing us towards what it is that we want. We pick up habitual behavior that can be detrimental to the outcome that we want. So you might be on a habit of having, in your routine, you might have a glass of wine every night, but your biggest thing that you talk about is trying to lose weight and trying to reduce your body fat. So, quite often the routines that we have might not always be constructive to what it is that we want. But, when you look at the most successful people who are striving and achieving what they want to, because again, success is just relevant to what the individual is trying to achieve. But the people who usually are achieving what they want to achieve, consistently, have positive routines. And the people who aren't achieving what they want to achieve sometimes don't really, the routine that they have is actually,
maladaptive or unhelpful. So I heard a great line. It's like, tell me what you do tomorrow and I'll tell you where you'll be in 6 months or a year.
Yeah.
And it's a key thing. So like on my board, I got my meditation, my journaling, exercise, and reading. So you're kind of getting all aspects in there. And don't be harsh on yourself. A lot of people will say, right, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and they'll take on 10 things that in January time say, this is going to be my routine. This is a new me. And dance. This is the new January dance.
Go to the YouTube. You can have too much in your routine. And having the quarantine, I've definitely learned that I have so much in my day, too much in my day. Like, I've got a long day, but I cram it with so much stuff because, again, unless I'm feeling like I'm busy and I'm doing something, then I'm not being productive. But really, by being so busy, everything that you're doing, you may be putting 10-15% less in. Whereas if you were to take a step back and just do a little bit less, you could actually put a little bit more on and have a little bit more momentum. So I think you can have too much routine as well. But what you just said there, your core ones, as long as your core ones should be the ones that really fulfill you, create the feeling of fulfillment. It's the ultimate feeling. But, things that are going to contribute to you having a happier, healthier self.
And they're like, my core habits, routines are there because they fill up my cup. exercise, filling up my physical cup, kind of reading, filling up that learning and that kind of innate desire to kind of learn. Meditation is just to kind of calm that nervous system down, kind of, if it is a case, just get a bit of clarity, a bit of focus. And then kind of journaling, what I say would probably be my most difficult one, because I struggle to kind of sit down, write it down, because it's getting all them thoughts in a clear, focused way. And that's kind of one that traditionally I've kind of always struggled at, but kind of slowly getting better at.
Well, we don't have kids, so I can't imagine how to. Well, to a certain extent, I feel like my business is a giant kid, with lots of different emotional, lots of different people wanting me there. Sometimes I feel like they're members of my kids, and I'm trying to help them and stuff. But again, like, we're quite lucky we don't have kids, and I imagine that's quite challenging to get things that you want done when you're solely utilizing your energy and efforts into raising and putting everything into them.
So what do you tend to suggest to the members in the club about ways to adapt that around the kids?
Get the kids involved.
Exactly. Bingo.
Getting the kids involved is a really great way to, getting some of the stuff done. I know my mum spent a lot of time with me, so much time with me, a lot more than I think a lot of parents spend with their children, and I'm very, very lucky. My mum would put me in a corner and say there's a tablet and stuff. My mum would talk to me. I always felt that I was able to converse from a very young age with adults, and a lot of that comes from the fact that my mum talked to me. She'd ask me things. She challenged from a very, very young age why I thought certain things. She really, looking back, she was an absolute genius of a woman trying to create a really self-aware child. I remember if I had a fallout with kids at school, rather than being like, they were in the wrong, they shouldn't have done that, she'd be like, and why do you think they did that? And I'd be like, God, Mum, why are you taking their sides? And she'd be like, no, but why do you think that they did that? And it was teaching me empathy and compassion. So I know I'm going a little bit off track, but part of the benefits of doing things with your kids and, speaking from being a child, it had a direct impact on my life. Mum did lots of swing ball with me, so she was getting exercise in there. If she was going for a run, or she wanted to go for a run, she'd be like, Max, let's go to the park and I'm going to see how far you can run. Or she'd take me on bike rides, but really she was getting her exercise in whilst stimulating me.
That's a huge thing. In this case of, that's even the same goes when someone's in pain. Kind of, it's a case of getting exercise, get the kids doing the exercise with them. I absolutely adore the fact I see that meditation and yoga is being taught in schools now. And then, like, I think there's a kids thing out at the moment called cosmic yoga, where it's a case of, it's kind of like your Joey Wicks PE class, and they're kind of teaching yoga at home and getting the parents involved, get the kids involved, which is kind of powerful stuff. And that's a perfect example of being able to kind of reflect back on it and seeing that, cultivating that kind of learning mindset and cultivating empathy, compassion, kindness, and actually the just awareness of kind of, well, why are you reacting like that? Do you think about how the other person's reacting? There's a really good book, and actually this is a bit of a nerdy thing, and I'm 100% certain my niece and nephews hate me for it, but it's a case of, there's a book called The Chimp Paradox.
We got it actually. The day that quarantine happened, we went and got that.
Yeah, so the Chimp Paradox is obviously the adult version, and talks about the inner chimp in your mind. So again, if you're angry, if you're emotional, so in Max's situation there, he talked about when he was a kid, Mum, it's a case of this kind of chimp mind takes over, and it's irrational, it's illogical, and it's just like, I just want to be angry, but kind of being able to kind of have a switch or a trigger to say, well, actually, why are you angry? And why are you reacting with this emotion, can be very constructive to kind of help build up that emotional vocabulary that we talked about. In terms of with the kid, and help them kind of develop that more self-awareness and social awareness. And there's a kids version of the Chimp Paradox that I bought for my niece and nephew, and I've sat down with them a couple of times, and you kind of work through it. And it's a bit of a workbook, bit of interaction, but it kind of helps them understand that emotional intelligence from a very early age, which is a kind of a big driver of mine, is to kind of help people become that emotionally aware.
It's about coaching, isn't it? It's about coaching yourself. Like, it's like when you're in that rage of emotion, it's like being in a swimming pool and not being able to swim and you're drowning in all that emotion. It's being able to become the swimming instructor on the side of the pool and saying, move your right arm, you can do it, just get to the side. It's about taking yourself out of yourself and stepping back. Quite often I think to myself, and I'll ask this to people. So someone might say to me, I'm not making any change, I'm doing all these workouts, why am I not getting the progress that I want to get? And I'd say, right, okay, me and you are going to we're going to stand next to each other, and all the behaviors that we've got, we're just going to look at as it's another person. Mm-hmm. What would you say to that person that they're doing at this moment in time, which is preventing them from getting the result that they want? And by doing that, it takes you out of you and it becomes less critical because it's someone else. And I found that you're doing that with yourself, being like, right, taking a step back, being really honest and not pushing under the couch the things that we're not doing, being like, right, what am I doing here? Right, if this was someone else, how would I be envisioning them right now? And with the complaints that I'm making and the feelings that I'm feeling, what would I say to this person? Would I be like, pull yourself together, it's because you're doing this? Or would I be like, you're going for a really tough time, Would you be, does that make sense? It's about sort of becoming almost two people, the yin and the yang, when you're emotionally so lost in yourself and so absorbed in that strength of feeling. It's being able to rationalize, gain perspective, and take a step back and assess the situation for the reality rather than the fantasy that you've created around the feeling.
Yeah, no, that definitely is quite true, because I did a leadership course a couple of years ago, and the guy doing the course told just a lovely example of a story where his son phoned up and it was just like fucking just angry as out, be like, I'm doing loads of traveling. Jesus, I've been traveling all last 3 months. I've been traveling nonstop at work, and it's really pissed me off. I'm going to quit my job and change jobs, whatever else. So his father kind of sat back and be like, all right, okay. How much would you be willing to travel a month? And the guy said, like, I wouldn't mind going away like once or twice a month for a day or two. Absolutely fine. Oh, I was like, yeah, that'd be a nice amount. And he was like, right, do you know what? Take out your calendar there. And the son took out his calendar, and the guy doing the course sat down, and the father sat down with him. Right, let's look back at every week that you've been away this for the last 3 months. We'll go back 6 months. And they went through it and step by step. And I was like, all right, that's interesting, isn't it? Look how many times you've been away in the last few months. He'd been away only once or twice a month for the last 6 months. So the kind of key thing was that his reality was completely different to actually what had been happening. Mm-hmm. And then it was only through that kind of exercise that he realized, I'm being emotional about, and I'm blaming my job for something that has nothing to do and is completely detached from what is the reality of the situation.
Have you ever heard of the drama triangle, Darren?
No. Enlighten me.
The drama triangle is a psychological game which we all play. It's something that's promoted in films. It's just, when you learn about the drama triangle, it's a game changer. And it sounds like he was playing one of the roles in the drama triangle there, the victim. So there's 3 roles in the drama triangle. You've got the victim, the persecutor, and the rescuer. So the victim is like, why me? Why me? God, I hate this. I can never do anything. I'm rubbish. The rescuer goes, oh, no, it's okay. It's fine. Don't worry. My problems don't matter. I'll look after you. I'll make this all right. Oh, okay. And the persecutor's going, I'm absolutely sick of listening to you. All you do is whinge. You're rubbish. And what happens is we we go round, we always swap positions. So have you ever had an argument, and I'm sure there's people at home listening right now who have, you ever had an argument that just seems to go round and round and round and just never seems to end? It's because you've both adopted one of the roles. So a great example in movies, the drama triangle is a perfect example. You know, man and woman fall in love, and then guy does something. Woman becomes male or female becomes a victim to what's happened, and then they spend the movie trying to rescue and fix it all. And then when they start rescuing it, the victim suddenly becomes the persecutor. I can't believe you did this to me. And he was rescuing, and then eventually the rescuer gets sick of it and is like, oh, I'm just sick. I've gone all this way. And then he's become the persecutor now. And then, you know, it's like a love triangle. And you know, something that we all do on a date. And we do it with ourselves. Sometimes you don't even need to play it with other people because we fuel that role ourselves. And a really great example of the drama triangle is I see, and probably what you see on a regular basis, is people coming to you and being like, I've got back pain, or I just can't ever lose weight. I've never been able to, you know, I'll never be able to, nothing works for me. I've tried everything, you know, it's just not the way it wants to be. And sometimes when we're in that state, we want someone to fuel our victim role and be like, yeah, you're right. It always does happen to you. You know, but by pitying people, it never really gets them out. It just fuels that victim role. So learning how to take people out of those roles is really important. So like how to get someone who's a victim out of being a victim is by bringing them into the here and the now. So if you were a victim saying, why me, why me? I'd say to you, Darren, right, Darren, what do you want the outcome to be? Because you'd have to make a decision in the here and the now, an adult decision, which would give you a chance of breaking out of that imprisoned feeling of being a victim, and it gives you opportunity. And then but I'm back.
Okay, it might have been the headphones. Hold on. Technical glitch.
Right, so, and you know, if you're the rescuer, if you're usually the person who puts your problems aside, I don't matter, I'm going to look after you, you know, everything's going to be fine. Eventually, doing that for long periods of time becomes really detrimental to your self-esteem, to your self-worth, and it can leave you feeling really unheard and that you don't matter. So a great way to if you're naturally a rescuer, I'm naturally a rescuer, is saying to the victim, right, I'm going to help you. I'm going to sit and listen to you for 10 minutes. You've got, you know, give them boundaries, give them a portion of the time. You know, you've got 30 minutes to tell me what's going on, and I'm going to be here for you. I'm going to listen. But after that, we're going to try and fix it. We're not going to entertain, you know, so setting boundaries. And then the persecutors, the angry one who's sick of it all and makes you feel really, really shit and really feels, you know, like just quite an aggressive role, really, you know, and we often bounce between those, and a great way to helping a persecutor not be so angry again is just hearing them and making them feel like they are not just not being heard. Again, a lot of it boils down to not feeling like you've been heard, I guess. You know, everyone wants to be heard, everyone wants to be listened to, and when you're not being heard, you probably end up feeling one of the three roles. So
I'd like to introduce my little friend here for the video people. So I have a little talking stick. So you can kind of jump on Google, you can kind of see what they look like. So a talking stick, and it has some kind of weird ass tribal design anyway. But on the side of it, it says, seek first to understand, then to be understood.
wow.
And it's a case of I think it's from like How to Win Friends and Influence People, or kind of one of them books, or Stephen Covey's books, where it talks about, you know, you want to listen first of all, and kind of in them situations, in case you, as you said, given that safe space for them to express themselves, and kind of also then kind of given specific boundaries. But at the same time, you may have to incorporate the angry person in there as well, because they need to be heard and understood as well from their perspective.
Yeah. Grand scheme of things, I think if you take a step back when you're in that fettle of emotion of feeling like a victim, asking yourself, what do I want the outcome to be? whether you're a rescuer, persecutor, or a victim, asking that empowering question usually brings you into the here and the now, which is all that matters, and helps you create a pathway to getting out of that drama.
Ooh, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I'm going to slightly disagree with you.
Okay.
Sometimes if you're, oh, go on. So when it comes to that, if you're kind of just focused on the outcome, an outcome-driven goal, that can work in certain circumstances, but at the same time, the outcome can be derived from someone else's reaction.
Mm-hmm.
So that means you're basing your decision, goal, communication based through the eyes of someone else's reaction to what you've said. So sometimes it's actually a case of connecting with the emotion and detaching yourself from the outcome.
Right, okay.
So you want to connect with the emotion of what message you're trying to convey to that person, irrespective of the outcome of and their response. So for arguments,
Of the emotion. What do I want the emotion to be?
yeah, so it's kind of like, say, your traditional kind of approach would be someone who's in love with someone, and they'll go in and they'll work it up and they'll be all ready to go and spread their kind of message and tell their loved one, you know what, darling, I really, really love you. And they're connecting with that emotion and conveying that message to that person. But what they want the outcome to be, they want the other person to say, I love you too.
Yeah.
But if you're focusing solely on that outcome, you can't control how they respond to it. They may just turn around and say, oh, you shut up, and go about their business, or, yeah, I like you too, or, a whole host of circumstances. So what you want to do is connect and be comfortable in the fact that you've expressed that emotion, irrespective of the outcome of what you have communicated or the message you have conveyed.
Very powerful stuff, Darren. Very powerful stuff.
So yeah, it's an interesting take, because instead of just speaking and using words, and you're really connecting with the emotion of what you're communicating instead of just saying words. Because we all know people, when they say certain words, that they don't really mean it, and you're like, there's a meaning behind it, and there's a way that people can tell by the vocal variety and the kind of draw in someone's voice whether they 100% really believe in something. And I think that's quite a powerful message, because how someone else responds is not up to you. So, as we said, it's control the controllables. And as long as you're controlling and expressing how you feel, the rest is up to the other person.
Going deep, man. I'm going to need me on that.
Oh. So circling back to the matter at hand, so we've covered some nice things in terms of looking at them daily routines, things that you struggle with, then the impact of kind of taking yourself back and being like, actually, are you kind of being harsh on yourself for not achieving this routine? Why do you want to achieve this routine? And kind of some deeper kind of elements to it. So it's kind of a nice little overview of all the routine side of things. Given the current times, give me your top 3 takeaways for what you would suggest for people at the moment to cope in these uncertain times from a routine perspective.
Top 3 strategies. That's a good question. Well, my top 3 strategies for getting through this are: 1, having a routine. So I guess that is a strategy in itself. 2, doing something every day that you enjoy. Again, it kind of all links with routine, with strategy. If you utilize a certain strategy every day, then that kind of falls into a routine. But my strategies are doing something that I enjoy every day, doing something that is going to move me in the direction of where I really want to be in the long term rather than just in the short term.
Mm-hmm.
And feeding my mind. So what I mean by that is, I always envision all the information that I take in, all the conversations that I have, just information, things that I'm reading, things that I'm watching, things that I'm listening to is ingredients for a cake. And I always ask myself in the morning, how do I want my cake to taste at the end of the day? And usually my go-to for how I want my cake to taste at the end of the day is motivating, empowering, and positive. So I make sure that the ingredients, the information that I'm taking throughout the day is motivating, positive, and empowering. So the conversations that I'll have will be quite positive and motivational and empowering. And the things that I'm reading, the things that I'm listening to, so you'd be shocked at if you went in someone's house and looked at the books that they had, the magazines, the drama, the TV shows we watch, the things we listen to on Facebook, the conversations that we have. Quite often that's a lot of bad ingredients, and then that's why we end up having a very untasty cake at the end of each day. And you are what you eat, Darren. If you're eating not good cakes at the end of each day that are really disempowering, negative, limiting beliefs, then that's eventually what you're going to become. So, for me, one of my biggest strategies is being, standing guard at the doorway of my mind and being aware of what I'm allowing in, and making sure that the things that I'm allowing in are moving me towards where I want to be. And again, you could say that that is potentially shutting myself off emotionally to certain things, which definitely in certain areas it does. I've tried to be as flexible as I can in that. But for me, as a person, on my personal journey, I want to become a really fulfilled, happy, kind, successful person. And the ingredients that I'm taking into my brain have to be very, very specific for me to achieve that, because I'm so ADHD. I really, I'm very, very easily distracted, very, very hyperactive, and I have to have immense amounts of discipline to control what I focus on, because I can literally lose focus in a split second. I mean, we probably noticed this on these conversations of going off tangent. It happens to me on a daily basis, and it's a daily struggle. So I have to be even more disciplined to really try and harness what I'm focusing on, because it's so easy for me to lose sight of that, which could then be, I'm a great example at school, didn't focus on the right stuff, wasn't a success, and as a young teenager wasn't a success in a lot of areas because my focus was wrong, because I wasn't controlling what I was taking in. I wasn't aware of what I was taking in, I was really into my boxing, and I was obsessed with Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's the best boxer ever. But with being obsessed with Mike Tyson, there was a lot of negative stuff that came with it. Whether what you think about him or not is people's own opinion, but there's a lot of bad press attached to Mike Tyson. And as a young teenager, I wanted to be him because no one messed with him, and I didn't want anyone to mess with me. But by being so absorbed with the information that I was taking every day, watching his fights, every day listening to him talking on the post interviews, swearing at people, seeing all that negativity that he was feeling, putting out there, I was absorbing that to the point where I became very, very much like him in certain areas. So for me, a big strategy is being aware of the ingredients that I put in the mixing bowl to make sure that the cake that I have at the end of the day is how I want to be.
Nice. I like it. So essentially what you're saying is you think about cake all day and punch people in the face.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's pretty much, you've got to watch your cake. I remember Jim Rohn said this, and this is a great quote. If I got you, okay, so if I got you some coffee and your worst enemy made you a cup of, all right, if your worst enemy made you a cup of coffee, right, what happens when you drink it? If they just put sugar in it?
You'd think it's an extra little bit bitter.
But what actually happens? Does anything happen?
No.
Okay, bro. What happens if your best friend goes and gets you a cup of coffee and drink it. What happens? Same outcome, right?
Yeah, you'd be a bit more appreciative, a bit more loving, and be a bit more kind of, if it was made with love, different animal.
What happens if your best friend accidentally puts strychnine in your coffee rather than sugar and gives it to you?
Unless the
Exactly.
coffee was taken alongside active charcoal, I would die.
Yeah, exactly. You die. So rule number one is, you got to watch your coffee. But rule number two is you can be around people who are your best friends, who you believe are really good for you, but they could accidentally be pouring poison in your coffee every single day.
Yeah,
Putting their own limiting beliefs in there, putting their own, personal traumas, which are whatever. You've got to really stand guard at the door of your mind, and that's why it's so important. Again, with the whole ingredient side of things, who you surround yourself with, that can have a huge influence on the way that you approach your strategies on a day-to-day basis. So I'm personally very lucky. My girlfriend is great. She's naturally quite positive. She's naturally funny. She's got a lot of really positive ingredients she puts in my pot. Whereas at this moment in time, it must be bloody hard if you're in a relationship with someone who pours strychnine in your coffee every day, and personally, because I'm not going through that, I don't know how I would cope if that was the case in here. I'd maybe have to try and separate myself as much as possible. But, who you surround yourself with has a huge impact on the way that you approach your goals, your strategies, your routine, the way that you think. It has, get a bowl of fruit, put one moldy bit of fruit in there, suddenly all the other bits of fruit will become moldy too.
yeah, true enough. So again, yeah, definitely think about who's on your inner circle. And it's difficult decisions. Sometimes it's very hard to kind of make that conscious decision to cut certain people from that circle. But if it's for your long-term growth and prosperity, it has to be done. If they don't serve you, then it's not healthy, and it's not a symbiotic relationship to help both of you mutually grow and benefit from knowing each other. Which is why I feel privileged and motherfucking honored to have this man in. So, nice natural close. Again, as always, kind of drop any comments, feedback in the links below, and hopefully myself and Max will do this again soon. Again, even just tag us, kind of put your kind of top 3 routines in there if you've taken any of ours or if you've kind of created your own. As long as they serve and fulfill you, that's the key thing. There's no right or wrong, but make sure that they serve you and your long-term goals and your present mental, physical, and emotional health. So, as always, from 3D Pod and Max Roberts, Darren Finnegan, wish you all the best. Have a prosperous day. Later.